Welcome to the Metro Monk Podcast, your sanctuary for self-discovery, personal growth, and emotional healing. I'm your host, Parag, a shadow coach, spiritual mentor, seeker, poet, and a student of life. This podcast is a heartfelt journey into understanding and embracing your true self. It is designed to help you navigate the complexities of the human experience with wisdom and compassion. Join me on a journey to self-discovery and personal growth as we explore the power of self-healing. Welcome back to the Metro Monk Podcast. This is episode 49, and today we move into the fourth step of the I-Breath framework, which is E for engaging with the unconscious imagery. If you recall, in the previous episodes, we've explored how the body is the unconscious itself. It's not something mysterious. It's not like a mysterious dungeon within us. It's actually hiding in plain sight. We've also talked about how emotions are the body's way of communicating with us and the world. How emotion was our first mother tongue. And if you haven't listened to those episodes yet, I highly recommend going back. In fact, the best way to experience this podcast is from the oldest to the newest, as I've built each episode like chapters in a book. Now, in the beginning, when you're just getting started to reconnect with your emotions, you might not even feel very much in touch with them. And that's usually the baseline where most of us start from. And that's completely normal. Most of us are in the same boat. You could say we've simply forgotten how to understand and speak this emotional language. In fact, people who do remember how to speak are often artists or performers or actors, those who can easily connect with their feelings and create from that place. But for most of us, that level of connection is not that common. And what happens is, because we are not so good with connecting with our emotions, this emotional energy then gets stuck in the body and keeps trying to move through you. It's constantly knocking at your door, trying to get your attention. And when the emotional door isn't open, it starts knocking other doors. For example, you might feel a random ache or pain with no clear reason. This is the same as the energy trying to knock your physical door. Or you might just have thoughts racing. Mentation, cyclical thoughts. You keep thinking about the same thing again and again. Or sudden memories or symbols or visuals pop up in the mind's eye. That's the same as this energy knocking your mental door. Or maybe let's say you feel drained, moody, or tired without any obvious cause. You can see this as the energy trying to knock the energy door, what in yoga we call the pranic body. All of these are signs that your body is trying to process emotions. All of these are signs that your body wants your attention. That's why this step, engaging with the unconscious imagery, is about tuning into the symbols and patterns or these knocks on the door that surface when we are trying to connect with the body. And we'll get into this shortly, so don't worry much about this. If this sounds abstract, that's okay. I just wanted to throw this in there for now. Before we dive deeper, it's worth revisiting also the importance of the first two steps of the I-Breath framework, intention and breath. Remember, without a clear intention, your body doesn't respond to wishful thinking. And if you're not in the right breathing pattern, it can be really hard to process anything emotionally. You see, earlier on, you need to consciously establish your breathing. But eventually, with time, As your mind-body connection gets stronger, it just becomes second nature. Just like how you breathe automatically during a panic attack. You're not trying to consciously breathe to fall into a panic attack. You just happen to breathe in that respective breathing pattern. Or let's say you've jumped into a cold shower. The first thing you do is take a deep gasp of air. Again, happens intuitively. You don't try and make it happen. It's the same way. Eventually, as you get used to it, you won't have to worry about breathing as much. But in the beginning, it's extremely important. So by setting a clear intention, again, which we've covered in detail recently, and sinking into the right breath, you create the foundation or what we are talking about for what we are talking about today. So today we'll deep dive into this aspect of engaging with the unconscious imagery, and I'll share some techniques for you to know how to do this practically. So let's I suppose start talking about it. One critical milestone or one critical station we need to stop by to unpack this topic, or to give justice to this topic, to do justice rather to this topic, is to acknowledge that this is a deeply intuitive and a personal process. We all have this intuitive knowledge of how to talk to the unconscious. Think about the moments when you're talking to yourself during a walk or a long drive. It's just the same thing. We all have this inbuilt ability to communicate with our unconscious. We all know how to do this. It's just that we've forgotten. And like anything, it comes down to practice and not giving up. This ability to engage with our inner world is a very basic part of being human. Even though you may not know it or believe it, it's literally how we process emotions and understand ourselves beyond words. So yes, this is a practice of quietening the analytical mind and letting your body speak to you, or letting your intuition speak. And while intuition is universal, how we receive it is not universal. It's a very unique experience for each of us. Some people feel it as a gut sensation. Others see vivid imageries. Some get goosebumps or tingles or zaps, which is the same as the whole body saying yes. So it's important to know you don't need to be Dr. Phil to do this. It is a very unique and a personal process. It just needs practice. The other thing to note is, in the beginning, we all question ourselves. That is just how it is supposed to work. You'd probably wonder, am I just making this up? Am I just imagining everything? And while it's healthy to be skeptical, remember this: you cannot be emotional about something unless it is true for you on some level. So it doesn't matter in the beginning whether you have your answer, whether you're making it up, or whether the unconscious really spoke to you. Just remember, you cannot be emotional about something unless it's really true for you on some level. So as you continue doing this work, you will see what once triggered a deep emotional reaction will eventually fade away, will eventually feel like water off a duck's back. And you can test it out, try it for yourself. Don't just take my word for it. Once you've processed the emotional energy out of your body, the same very thing begins to feel light, indifferent, or water off a duck's back. And even if you doubt it in the beginning, what matters most is that you felt the emotion. That's really what it is all about. Whatever took you to get to that emotion, you felt it, and now it's out. So better out than in. And over time, you'll get better at even discerning or knowing whether, if you're in your head, did you just make that up? Or whether you're in your body. And these doubts will just settle down naturally. So don't worry too much about it. Okay, let's break this further down by looking into two key questions. Let's look at today's topic through the lens of two key questions. The first one, how do you know the unconscious is speaking to you? And the second being, how do we engage with it? What does it mean by engaging with it? Okay, so let's begin with the first one. You see, when we say the unconscious is speaking to us, what we mean is that the energy that is trapped in the body wants to be felt. And in a perfect world, that energy would have moved naturally, but instead, we suppress or land up expressing it unconsciously or repressing it. Still, this energy keeps trying to get your attention so that you can experience it. This energy is meant to be experienced. It's a very personal communication to you. It is not anyone's business. So it is not about expressing it. It is not about suppressing it. It is not about repressing it. When I say express it, what I mean is being reactive and unconsciously expressing it. I'm not talking about boundaries or letting someone know what you feel, etc., etc. So I hope I've made that point clear. And to give you an analogy of this whole process, picture your inner world as a big house with multiple doors, and each one of those doors representing a part of your being behind which the unconscious is waiting for you. So you have a physical door, which often speaks through bodily sensations. You have a mental door, which opens up into thoughts and beliefs and mental patterns. You have an emotional door, which are raw feelings. And you have an energetic door, which is your life force, vitality, or what we all often refer to as vibes. Now, your unconscious lives in this house, behind these doors, and is constantly trying to communicate with you. As children, when the emotional door is open, we can feel and process it directly, which is why it's extremely difficult for children to be miserable. They're mostly very happy because they are very good at processing this emotional energy. It also doesn't take us that long as children to process this emotional energy. So if you notice, kids don't have to sit with their emotions, like how all grown-ups are invited to nowadays. They just process it as raw emotions and they are out of it quickly. But that's if the emotional door is open. Unfortunately, for most of us, it is shut. So when the door is shut, usually because of past traumas or habit, the unconscious then has to still find other ways. It has to find other doors to knock to get your attention. Now, when you consciously turn inwards and breathe properly, you can also then start engaging back with the unconscious. You can even start asking questions to your unconscious. It's like saying you're standing at the front of a door and you're like trying to say, "Hey, unconscious, I'm right here. Knock twice if you're behind this door." And then when you do that, you might feel a sudden physical sensation like tight shoulders or pins or needles in your stomach, or get a headache for no reason. And that's the unconscious responding back to you, back to your knocks via the physical door. Or you might have recurring dreams, yeah? Or you might just see symbols in the mind's eye. A memory might pop up in your head. That's the unconscious returning your knock through the mental door. Or let's say you might feel a wave of tiredness or sudden energy shift. That again is the unconscious returning your knock through the energetic door. So this is a two-way communication. This is that intuitive sense of talking to ourselves, talking to our unconscious that I was talking about earlier. And eventually with practice, the unconscious will even use the emotional door to respond back. But initially, it's just different. So these are all just different ways the unconscious says, "Hey, I'm here." And if that lands well, if that makes sense, how then do we engage with the unconscious once you've sensed its presence? Or maybe you're thinking, okay, Parag, I get that these knocks are signals, but what do I do with them? You know, how do I even know what these knocks mean? You know, it feels like Morse code. And this is where creative exploration or creative expression comes in. You've got to start testing things, as in speak the unsaid thoughts. You try out statements that could be true and see how you feel when you say those sentences or statements to yourself. And there will be one particular statement that will make you emotional. And that's when you hit go. To give you an analogy of this phenomena, imagine, and this is if you have been around young children, you will notice how when a child is in distress, it is extremely difficult to understand what they are going through, because children don't have the faculty of language yet developed, so they can't explain themselves. You can't even ask them complicated questions because they won't understand it. So you really have to use your empathic sense. You really have to use simple language and also get down to their level to try and see things their way. And all really you're doing is using a creative expression. You're using creative exploration with them, trying to get them to speak back to you. And you'll notice there comes a point when you've got the right question, you've asked them just the right thing, or even just acknowledge something that is true for them. And when you hit goal, they will either break down crying or just express their emotions. This is very similar to engaging with the unconscious. And that's why it's called the inner child. So you're literally trying to understand its communication. Like different people coming from different parts of the world speaking different languages, initially when they meet each other, they have to understand what each other's sign languages or gestures actually mean. And over time, you sort of have established a form of communication. Let's go back to the earlier examples to sort of see how this can be done. How can you interpret? Let's say you've asked yourself a question. Let's say you're going to meet a friend of yours who you're not comfortable around and you're not able to understand whether you should go or not. So you've sat down, created the set and the setting, closed your eyes, focused inwards, you're now in your breathing pattern and you're really here to meet yourself. And you ask yourself a question: how do I really feel about meeting this person? I understand there is resistance. I understand I'm not comfortable. But what is it? What is underlying that? How do I really feel about meeting this person? And then you wait, like as if you're waiting in anticipation for the unconscious to speak back. Yeah? And suddenly you'll feel tight shoulders or knot in your stomach. And that's your body knocking back to you through the physical door. That's your unconscious speaking back to you through a physical door. Now, how do you decipher this? How do you decode this statement? Not a statement, this sign, this symbol, this knock. You start trying out different statements. You start trying out different ideas in your own way, in your own language, in the way you understand. And so you might try and codify this physical knock as, it feels like a burden to meet this friend. And I said burden because there's this tightness in your shoulder. Shoulder is often where we carry a lot of weight. Or you might even say, I feel uncomfortable meeting them because I've been carrying this weight around for too long. Maybe you've just ignored and avoided this friend, and now you've forgotten what you would even say to them. And maybe you've carried this weight around. Or you might even try and say, meeting this friend feels like a kick in the gut. Remember how there were knots in your stomach? You're trying to really give creative expression to that. Or you might say, it reminds me I've always been left hungry every time I met this friend. Or it reminds me I'm always waiting for scraps. You see, you're going to keep trying out different variations of what this weight on your shoulder and kick in the gut means. Now, you can say them out loud. Often that's good because you can hear it back. Or you can say it in your mind. And one of them will hit you. You will get emotional, and that's the moment you can say you've engaged with the unconscious. Let's look at another example. Say you're frustrated with meeting the same people again and again. Yeah. Say you've asked yourself, okay, why do I keep meeting the same kind of people again and again? And let's say you suddenly see an eagle in your mind's eye. At first, this will feel random because you might not be able to link the two to each other. But again, that's a symbol. We have to try and decode this symbol. So you might try variations like, I keep meeting the same kind of people because I've forgotten how to fly. Or it feels like my wings have been clipped. Or no one's really taking me under their wings. Or I just want someone to guide me. You see, that's what the symbol of an eagle may mean. And once again, one of these will hit you emotionally, and boom, the floodgates will open. Or for instance, let's say you're feeling tired before doing some deep emotional work. You've sort of sat down, created the set and the setting, you're going into that breathing pattern, and then you just have this felt sense that you get before you go to the gym that, I don't really want to go and do that workout. I just want to not be just laze around here, just relax. Maybe you're just feeling that as you're trying to process. That initially may seem like, maybe today is just not happening. Maybe I'll just come back tomorrow. Or that may just feel like I don't have the energy today. But what's really happening is it's your unconscious knocking the energetic door. It's actually resistance that's coming up rather than showing you your capacity to feel in that moment. You might even look at it this way. Our body has a lot of governing systems. We don't beat our hearts. We don't digest our food. There are so many governing systems within the body. Now, if the emotion wants to move, and if your body is showing you signs that it wants to process this, wouldn't it be that the body understands it better than you? So you can even look at it from that lens and trust the body's intelligence and say, okay, if the body has brought this up to process, then maybe this me feeling flat or me feeling tired before doing this is my resistance. And that's the unconscious trying to knock the energetic door. Now, this is often difficult to recognize, because if that was easy, we would all go to the gym. We would not skip gym. And you get better at this eventually. But the way to work with this is mere acknowledgement. And acknowledgement can sometimes look like you saying to yourself, I know it's hard, I'm here with you. Or I know this feels endless, I know this feels painless. It's okay, go slow, I'm proud of you. Even just acknowledging your struggles can move something inside of you. And because we so rarely do that for ourselves, this is often the best way to get through an energetic block. So folks, as we wrap up this episode, remember, this is your journey. It is deeply personal. The unconscious speaks through symbols, sensations, and emotions. And it's constantly trying to offer insights. Insights that words alone cannot explain. So pay attention to those small cues or sudden images, a feeling in your body or a surge of emotions. That's really your inner world talking back to you. This path isn't linear. It takes practice, curiosity, and compassion. And these are the three aspects of you that you always have to embody when you do emotional work. You have to be patient with yourself. You have to approach your inner world with curiosity. You can't approach it with some form of a judgment. And you've got to be compassionate to yourself. You've gone through a lot. You've weathered a lot of storms, and it's okay. And that's where compassion comes in. Self-compassion, rather. And remember, each image or sensation is like a doorway to deeper understanding. And over time, you will get fluent in this inner language. It just takes some practice. So it helps to have someone as a guide at first. This is why it's better to work with someone in the beginning. But like I said, this is a very personal, intuitive process. We all have it within us. You don't need anyone else eventually. But until you get good at this, that's a good idea to maybe work with someone. So folks, thanks for joining in today with me. I hope I've done some justice to this big topic. And it's an experiential one rather than more of an understanding. So you will learn a lot when you actually experience this for yourself. If you found this helpful, please go back and revisit the earlier episodes to really anchor the I breath framework. And your journey of self-discovery is always going to be an evolving one. As always, I'm honored to walk alongside you in it. Until next time, take care and keep listening to the whispers of your inner world. Much love, and see you next time.